I actually teach a class called Data Art just down the street from here. And the central thing that I ask is how artists can insert themselves in these data pipelines. How can we find places to critique and to ask questions that maybe aren't being asked? And really what that actually means is that I ask this question a lot: what is it like to live in data? And a metaphor that I've given my students a lot over the previous years is this metaphor of air travel, or the airport experience, for two reasons. First of all, because when you're in an airport, you exist in a moment without agency. You're told what to do and where to go. You cross that TSA line, but before the TSA line, no one can touch you inappropriately, and after, they can. But also because in an air traffic or an air travel situation, you're in part of a system that is so complex that it's impossible for us to get a grasp of. At any given time, there are more than 1 million people in the air. But I've also realized lately that there's something else that I think is special to air travel, and that is that classification is visible. We have a boarding group. We have a pre-check or not pre-check. We have a random flag on our boarding pass. And a question that I've added to this first question lately is, what does it feel like to be classified? So consider this group of students who in 2013 woke up to find out that they attended the saddest school in Manhattan, that they were part of this dark purple blotch of misery right above the reservoir. Right? It doesn't matter that the study was wrong as much as it matters that we didn't consider the fact that to classify is to act upon an individual. And this idea of classification is something that actually impacts individuals and communities. So how can we empower individuals to understand and act against classification? How do we build tools for activism towards questioning, protesting against, and in some cases even contributing to classification? And I would suggest that there are two approaches, or I personally believe there are two approaches that can be effective. And the first is, can we make user-centric tools that allow people to investigate classification? And what this really means is to turn this data pipeline upside down. Can we start with representation and work backwards to understand the mechanisms of classification? We've been working on a project for 2 years at my studio called Floodwatch, which does exactly this. It allows individuals to see the web ads that they're exposed to over time. And so that through that visualization of the ads that they're seeing, they can understand how they are being divided, how they are being labeled, how they are being classified. And the second part of this project is that we're build a collective data set, hopefully the largest data set ever of advertising data, and we can give it to policy researchers, thus empowering the individual by acting as a collective. I want to end by talking about public data. We talk about public data a lot, but I don't believe that data is public. Data is public in the same way that the White House is. We can look at it from a distance. We might hope one day to be invited on a tour, but for the average citizen, they're not allowed in. So how do we make data less like the White House and more like Central Park? And with my studio, we engage in a real direct approach to this, which is to put data in the public through sculpture, through performance, to bring it into public space, to put it at a scale where it can be walked through with your friends and family. And I really believe that this changes the way that the public considers data and helps them investigate this question, because this question of what is it like to live in data is fine for us to talk about, and it's an important thing for us to talk about, but it's doubly important to enable the public to be able to talk about this, because I don't think it's a question that's being asked in a very clear manner. Thank you.